mythology, history, Puranic history has at least 17 records of heads being replaced or transplanted. Modern day science obviously still doesn't see the possibility of organ transplants of the head. But Puranic concepts have, or Puranic anecdotes have references to these. Today we explore a few of them in Anandotsav. Why so? The head, biologically, philosophically, emotionally, psychologically speaking, symbolizes, well, for lack of a better word, the head of the body and the soul. Well, not the soul perhaps, the body and the person that we think we are. The head is where the brain is stored. So a lot of our functions come from signals that the brain is giving out. Not only is it the biological neurochemical signals that we're receiving from the head, but a lot of people believe psychology is to do with the brain, to do with some kind of internal cognition, also believed to be situated up there. Philosophically speaking, the head represents two very important things: knowledge and arrogance. Head replacements see many different stories, many different scenarios where the latter team seems to be taking the foreground. The latter takes the spotlight. When arrogance takes the spotlight, psychologically speaking, it's not so great for the rest of the cognitions to work. When there's some kind of negative functioning of the brain, not so nice for the person, within and outside. Similarly, if there is a biological problem with the brain, say the brain goes dead, unfortunately, also not so great for the body. And I'm trying to sugarcoat it over here. So that's why head replacements today. If this is the head of the body and, well, the head of the person, what happens when something goes wrong with that? Not just psychologically speaking, situationally, environmentally, congenitally, which is from the womb, psychologically, um, even in terms of intellectually, what goes on when something goes wrong with the head? That's why today's Anandotsava is all about head transplants. Let's consider the first element of head transplants: congenital disfiguration, some kind of malnutrition, something that goes wrong in the development of the child within the womb. Shakti, Parvati, is the concept that we have in Vedic Dharma as the womb, the cosmic womb. Prakriti, nature is the cosmic womb. We consider her a goddess, Devi, Parashakti, Lalitamba. When that Lalita Mahatripura Sundari, when she creates Ganesha from the sandalwood of her body, if all of Prakriti came together to create something, well, Ganesha technically came from the womb. But there was something wrong with him. Some functioning that didn't really work very well. What is that? And why is it that Ganesha's head was transplanted? So much so that now the Western world calls him the elephant headed god. Why and how did Ganesha become the elephant headed god? Let's see through the Nritya Seva in Kathak by the beginner batch at Ambanandeshwari Kalalaya, Adelaide. We'll be streaming their Nritya Seva, followed by which we'll discuss a little bit of explaining the story and then move on. Over to the Nritya Seva. While the Nritya Seva is getting streamed, the simple story of Ganesha goes: he's created from the sandalwood paste on Parvati's body. She chisels the body of the beautiful baby boy and says, well, I'm going in to deal with some work. She goes to take a shower or a snana, also kind of Leela, I guess, when the earth is rejuvenating herself. Who keeps guard? Ganesha is left to keep guard, this little boy. And he is very sincere, very devoted to his mother. But there's something wrong. He doesn't recognize that Prakriti is one half of creation. The other half is the energy that comes with her, Purusha. When the other half is not recognized, there's something that goes wrong. It's not a very nice situation. Also, he's kind of rude to the person who comes to visit his house. It's not very good manners in Vedic dharma or in any dharma really to be rude to the guest who comes to your house. For us, Atiti Devo Bhava. So when the Atiti comes, well, technically not Atiti, when Shiva returns to Prakriti to look after and say, okay, I'm back, we can resume functioning at full capacity, full throttle. Ganesha says, no, 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 you can't go there. That's my mother's chambers. Well, she's the cosmic mother. Everybody has access to her, especially Purusha when he is the other half of Prakriti. So why not allow? In many ways, you can think of this as a fertilization issue. How Prakriti, as the womb, is getting ready to receive the sperm that will fertilize the ova, and there is a block at the cervical stage or at the vaginal stage. What if there is a block there? What if the sperm is not allowed to enter and fertilize the earth, the ovum? What happens then? The child is not created, the child is not born. In many cases, sadly, there's miscarriages that go on, even after the fertilization, because it's incorrectly done so. Or if there is a developmental issue, or there is simply no conception. These are multiple ways of looking at this story. And finally, what does Shiva do? He chops off that head. That head can represent arrogance, impoliteness. It can represent a block between the sperm and the ova. It can represent a block between the black hole and the Big Bang, a timeline block, some kind of block that is the head that's being impolite and not allowing nature to take its due course. So Shiva chops off that and then he replaces it with that of an elephant. Why an elephant? Elephants represent wisdom, patience. If you don't recognize and have gratitude for that, that's when you're taking undue credit. That is the ahamkara that Daksha Prajapati held. Daksha Prajapati's Yajna, Daksha Mahayajnam, is very famous in our Vedic philosophy and our Vedic Puranic history. Yes, he conducted a yajna and did not invite the Paramatma himself. When Sati Devi, when Prakriti decided, I want to go because it is my father's yajna after all, Mahasadashiva warned her. He said, let's not maybe go there. You have not been invited. It's impolite to go where you are not invited. It's impolite to gate crash, to yajnam crash in this case. And still Sati insists. She says, yes, but family first. Yes, but responsibility first. I'm not going there as a guest. I'm going there to take it up and conduct it and help my father. It is my duty as a daughter. So Sati goes, much against the advice of Paramatma. She too disregards him. And when she arrives there, ego. She is confronted by her own ego within her and outside of her. Similarly, Daksha Prajapati sees the ego within him reflected outside in Sati's arrival. There is a fierce battle of words that ensues between the two of them. Back and forth and back and forth. Of course, Daksha is the greatest, the smartest leader. Daksha is his daughter. Of course, she represents and exhibits the same qualities of brilliance. She is Daksha. If he is Daksha, she is Daksha. She is equally brilliant. And so there is a constant back and forth of words. And at some point, they both end up insulting each other beyond the boundaries, the had, the sarhad, or the good limits of humanity, of swaras, of good beings, of true souls. You can insult a person, you can perhaps even hit a person and heal them. But the wounds that you cause with your words, they can't be healed. Not even very easily. They just cannot be healed unless the person chooses to rejuvenate. Sati chose to rejuvenate that very instant. Her being Prakriti's avatara, she decided to rejuvenate that very instant from that wound. So she immolates herself from her Manas Agni, and she immolates and destroys that physical form of that disregard and ego and ignorance. Yes, Sati destroys herself immediately Shiva realizes, Paramatma realizes there is a need. When one person recognizes, sure, they've healed themselves. What about the other person whose wounds are not healed? And so they're going to defend further. This is a psychological concept where if you're hurt by something, you put up a wall, a boundary, and you continue to function from that space of being hurt. This is also how spirituality works. This is how the Vedic Dharma works. If somebody has wronged you, feel wrong,
Victim mentality. Victim mentality and creating a loop into that,
create a loop,
further and further and further going into negative space.
and not only that anger and hurt, but you also feel that guilt, which is a hell loop in samanya bhasha, in the language of laymen. It is a hell loop, that constant guilt. That's what hell feels like. And so, out of compassion, Shiva's nail emerges as Veerabhadra. Veerabhadra comes forth from Paramatma's nakha, from his nail, and the form of Veerabhadra immediately identifies the problem and isolates the issue which is held within Prajapati Daksha's shira, his head, and he chops it off. He chops it off. Yes, problem removed. It's an amputation, sure. But can you have a Prajapati who's headless? You can't have a nearly headless Nick running your. That's a Harry Potter reference for the younger viewers of Anandotsav. You cannot have a nearly headless Nick or a headless man ruling the land, especially when the Manusmriti has to be taken forward. You need the function of the brain. And so he takes the sacrificial goat, which was going to be killed, he decides to give that life and Prajapati Daksha life again. Why? Because this head has now rolled off into the yajna and has been destroyed. The fire and been destroyed. So the sacrificial goat, that head is taken and placed on Daksha Prajapati, giving both of them life. One is given new hope, the other is given humility and is given recognition that there is no need for me to feel like I am a victim. Yes, things have happened to me. Yes, I have done things. Yes, I am guilty. But when I get rid of that, when I surrender to the Paramatma, all of that goes away. And I'm able to function as a new being, as a rejuvenated being. And that surrender to Paramatma is very important. We will have Vaidya Seva by Rohan Mushti, who symbolizes the gravity of this issue, the seriousness of this issue, and the eventual surrender to Mahadeva Shiva Shambho, whose grace without knowledge is a disease without perspective, and surrender to the cosmic force that enables the very existence of this said intelligence. Mahadeva Shiva Shambho. Welcome, Rohan Mushti.
Namaskar. Happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all. I will be playing Mahadeva Shiva Shambho in Ragam Revati and Aditara.
Who changes form. Krishna Mari, Karumari, Kar Megham Tirandar Pol, Tirmeni Padaita Amba Kar Megham Tirandar Pol, Tirmeni Padaita Urumari Mayam Katum கருமாரியம்பாளே உருமாறி மாயம் காட்டும் கருமாரியம்பாளே. Back with all the five. Padam. What else can I do but just align to you and surrender? Maravene nin padam porpadam. Maravene nin porpadam என்றென்றும் கருமாறி ஐம்பொரும் ஐம்பெரும். The five great elements: Apa, Jyotir, Vayu, Agni, Akasha, Bhumi. ஐம்பெரும் பொருளை ஐம்பெரும் பொருளை பாம்பாக்கி மகுடமா சூடினையே அம்பா ஐம்பொரும் பொருளை பாம்பாக்கி மகுடமா சூடினையே शम्भो 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 शिवना पादम என்று பிரியாள் ஆராயே நீயே.
Thanks, Mai, for keeping it so relevant and engaging for this next generation. It's very important. And I think, we started this with the Vaidya Narayano Harihi, and then what a beautiful way of ending the healing session with Ganesha, who is...
No, we have not ended it. It is only concluding for today.
Okay.
We are going ahead with it.
Probably that is the start. That's what I was about to say. We today was the Ganesha episode, and then he's only going to be a new beginning, and we are going to start exploring some new realms into this area.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody. And I think there is always like yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuktana adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. And anytime any kind of in adharma happens, Narayana comes and he re-establishes the dharma. So if it is significant enough and profound enough, that it means that it has to be like the head has to get replaced in order to bring the dharma back, in order to bring the goodness back. In all by all means, the cosmic universe or energy is going to make that happen, just to bring out the good at the end of all this episode. So picking few 5 gems, we have explored the tatparyam in both the spiritual, scientific, and the agamic means. So thank you so much. Such a elevating experience today, and I did not even feel the time that went by. So thanks a lot, Mai. I feel I should give you some some doctorate today, probably. So picking few 5 gems, we have explored the tatparyam in both the spiritual, scientific, and the agamic means. So thank you so much. Such a elevating experience today.
Ramya, thanks for reminding. And as Yada's director, I think it's perfect that you mentioned about the doctor. We have been giving out certain doctorates to people in Anandotsav. I think we will, a well-deserved candidate here is Mai for her extensive research on this subject as head transplant. So
Beautiful, my hearty
Ananda,
congratulations.
Ananda Vaidya Daksha.
Such a huge honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.